Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
We are just about out of time, but I want to take a second we had two questions that came in about food. One from a 26-year-old who identifies themselves as being on the spectrum and vegetarian, and all they eat is white food, and they just never learned how to eat regular food, and they're concerned. I know you have a lot to say about that, but I also want to encourage them to watch. We've had an adult on the spectrum who's a vegan who has a cookbook out. Her name is Anita Lesko. And I would look to see the interview that we did with Anita Lesko. I think that you're going to find some great answers there. And in addition to this, we also had a question about someone trying to get their 15-year-old son to try new foods. I know that the food thing is very much something that you're very knowledgeable on, Dr. Granpeesheh, and it's a passion of yours to talk about good nutrition for folks on the spectrum. You've got a minute and a half. Anything you want to say?
Sure. I mean, there are a lot of good cookbooks out there. My daughter is actually both gluten-free and vegan, so I know that there are really good cookbooks out there. But I'm wondering if in this case, the issue is not the food, but perhaps the color or texture, which a lot of times our kids become very selective based on color and texture, which I think is a very interesting thing that happens. And what you need to do is you need to shape the behavior and reward progressively more different foods. So you might, if it's color, for instance, you might alter the color very gradually and go from, let's say, white to beige to gray foods to then darker foods or green or whatever foods. If it's texture, what we do is we begin with very, very small amounts of something that you can chew and then gradually increase that or gradually decrease that, because there's some kids who like chewable foods and others who will never chew anything and they like mushy foods. So it's a shaping procedure, and like everything else in shaping, it's gradual reinforcement of slightly altered foods, so that you can eventually get to the points that you want.
Thank you. And I just want to say too, for the 26-year-old who is vegetarian and they talk about how they can't bear to eat onions, that there's like a feeling in their mouth that they just don't, sometimes I have a very dear friend who has an allergy to onions and garlic. And when she eats them, she is not on the spectrum, but when she eats them, it starts with a tingling and then it burns. Yeah. And then if she eats a lot of it, her tongue swells. Yeah. So, don't discount that, if something physically doesn't feel well, there are people who have allergies.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that, because I feel the same way, Shannon. I don't eat onions. I eat garlic, but I cannot eat onions because they actually make my stomach hurt. I get bloated from them. So I would say the same thing. If it's something that's not absolutely necessary, and if it's one item, leave it alone. I mean, there are kids who will not eat a whole array of things, in which case we have to be selective and try to teach them. But you can get allergy testing ahead of time to identify the things that they're allergic to.
There we go.
Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.